So I always like to begin the presentation talking a little bit about different ways that we can secure profit, right? And one of those, it's through the compounding effect. We have in front of us an exchange that is going to allow us to generate capital over time, not just immediate outcome and different sources of income, but also over time. And how we can do this, we can let our capital work for us. So, for example, I had this page open here. So, what happens when you invest $200 and you let it grow with a 10% of monthly revenue, of monthly interest, right? When you let it compound in 5 years' time, let's calculate. So you have access to this calculator as well. I always like to post it over here so you can play around because each one of us is in a different time of our lives. Why? Some of us in this room, it's super well established and is in a position where we can invest $10,000. Some of us in this room don't have $200 to invest. So each one of us is in a different time of our lives. So if you have $200 to invest in an exchange that is generating 10% on a monthly basis, in 5 years' time, you're going to have achieved $60,000 from your initial $200. But what we have to understand is that you need to let it compound. And how are you going to do this? When you don't touch your income, where you don't touch your interest in a monthly basis, and it's hard to do so because, hold on, let me check, let's put this over here. The usual thing that we do is we have $200, 10% of that, let's put 12%. So we have different numbers over here. It doesn't seem too round, right? So on a monthly basis, 12% of $200 obviously is $24. So this would be a little bit different because you would have the platform. Let's think about the yearly fee of 248. So you would deduct 248 out of the top, out of the whole year, right? So you have $200. 12% of that, it's $24. So the second month, you have $224. If the usual people, the usual human of this planet will withdraw the $24 and purchase clothes and purchase food and purchase anything that will convert into a liability and not more assets. So the smart people, what do? They reinvest. They allow their capital to grow because the numbers, they speak volumes. So you have in the second month, if you allow your capital to grow and work by itself, instead of having $200, now you have $224. That at a 12% is going to give us 26 of interest instead of 24. And now you have $250. So in the beginning, these numbers are almost insignificant. The difference from one month to the other, it doesn't happen like that when we move into the fifth year. This is on a monthly basis, guy. You're generating $5,000 on a monthly basis with your initial $200 because you allowed your capital to grow for you and with you without withdrawing, right? So always think of your portfolio. Always think that you should have different venues. So you have your income that is coming through your labor force, right? Your manual work, the one that you go to your 9 to 7, or if you have a business, you go 24 hours in because whenever we have our own businesses, we work even harder. But also you have the possibilities of loading and inject and deploying your capital into automated systems. Those are investments. So a portion of whatever you receive as your labor force should always be directed into those investments and not just one, guys. The smart thing to do is that you diversify your portfolio. So you're going to use an investment in the digital asset. You're going to use an automated system and an exchange. You're going to use maybe some real world assets where you invest in commodities, in real estate, you invest in minerals, whatever it is, have it spread around. So you're never depending on one single system, one single digital asset, or one single investment, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is allow your money to work for you. Whenever you plant a seed, you're gonna put your seed over there. You're gonna cover with soil. You're not gonna keep taking the soil out and seeing if it has grown, right? You're gonna leave it over there. You're going to leave it to grow, to create roots. And when it's stable, then it starts to grow outside of the earth, right? But initially, you're not going to keep trying to dig to see if the seed is growing, if the seed is creating roots. You leave it there. What do? You water it. You just water it. That's what you do. You don't touch it. You don't mess around. You don't keep poking the soil. You just water it. Eventually, it will grow roots. Eventually, it will grow out of the earth and flourish and bloom. This is the same thing when we think about our investments. But this is the minimum, guy. We're talking about 9, 12%, 10% off $200. But let's put it here when you have $5,000. So the exchange today, boys, let people in the waiting room enter, please. When we have an exchange today that is generating for us from 10 to 25%, all right? So let's think about something in the middle. Let's think about 18%, right? It's not one, not the other. We just have seen the worst case scenario. So now we're a step further. Now we have 5K and now we have 18% on a monthly basis. So let's think about only 2-3 years so we can understand the calculation. Guys, we're talking about almost $2 million from an initial $5,000. Let's put it 2 years. What happens? 260. You see the difference from the second to the third year. This is when your tree, it's already giving fruits, because in the beginning, your tree is not going to give fruit. It only have the leaves. It's creating the main stability support for the leaves, but it's not really given enough flowers or fruits. What happens after the third year, it's that makes a difference for us. Why is that? Look at this. In the first year of your $5,000, you have 18% of a monthly interest, right? So now you're receiving 900. You let your seed in the soil. So now you have 5,900, 18%. You have 1,000. So you jumped almost $100, $162. So now you have 6,900. You let it compound, and now you generated almost 200s from the previous month. What happens after the first year? 5K, 40K. So this is the first thing that we need to understand when we think together about investing. Yeah.